We are back on Taking Care of Business. Our in-studio guest is Jeremy. Am I going to mispronounce this again? Staat.
Staat. There
you go. And it's Dutch, and I should know that since you and I are both half Dutch. So you were talking about the mental toughness.
Yeah, the mental toughness. Like I said, well, a lot of times our minds will give up before our bodies, and especially with the kids nowadays, I think we don't push them hard enough. I think with so many distractions that they have today, that if we can mentally prepare our kids to be mentally stronger in the tasks that they're doing, and to mentally focus on what they need to get done. I mean, I think we see a lot more kids being more productive in school as in their community, and to teach them, how that it's not about themselves. And that's what I kept telling the kids this morning, this past week, and all the different speaking engagements that we go to, is just to tell them, hey, it's not about you. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, like, people wonder why guys like Pat and myself would walk away from multi-million-dollar contracts to serve our country for, basically $15,000 a year. I think is what I got. It was my highest amount of money I made. Was that because at the end of the day, no one's going to care how much money Jeremy Staat had in the bank. No one's going to care how big a car, how expensive my car was that I drove, or how many trophies I had, or anything like that. The only thing at the end of the day, they're going to remember Jeremy Staat for how I treated other people and my relationships with those people. Because, like you say, I mean, trophies are good for one thing, and that's for collecting dust. And at one time, at some point in everyone's life, everybody's trophies get thrown away.
What kind of role in your life did Pat Tillman have?
Well, with Pat, he was one of those guys that you always knew. I always knew where I stood with him, and that's kind of one of the things I pulled away from him, was that always be honest, always be truthful, always be upfront. Even if people don't, a lot of times my wife says you're up front, you're too forward. But you know what? I think today that's what people need. People don't need to hear the sugarcoat. Oh, this looks really good, even when you're lying. I'm gonna just be honest with people. Hey, if that doesn't look good on you, I'm like, you know what? You shouldn't be wearing that. Right. Kind of the things like that. If for me, it's when I try to stay in shape, I try to do a lot of things, and if I see someone doing something that's not cool, I try to have the moral courage to go up to him and say, you know what, you probably shouldn't be doing that. That's probably not a good idea. And I think if more people were that way, we'd have a lot more understanding in our society. But like I said, I mean, even when people are trying to discipline their kids, you have other parents go, hey, I don't think you should be doing that. And it's like, well, it's not your kid, so kind of not stay out of my business, but at the same time, there needs to be some sort of a pecking order in life, and we need to be able to have the moral courage to say, hey, you know what, you shouldn't be chain smoking in the car with your 2-year-old child, with the windows rolled up or something like that. Yeah, you can go ahead and smoke, but you know what, there's a time and place to do it.
How tall are you and how much do you weigh?
I'm 6'6", 292 right now.
Well, if you came up to me and said, I don't think you should do that, Clay, I don't think I would do it.
Put down the ice cream, walk away.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff.
Well, since we're talking about some friends, tell us a little about Wesley. Who is Wesley?
Wesley Barrientos. He's a Bakersfield kid from here. He was a Ridgeview graduate. He was also served in the Army. He was with the 101st Screaming Eagles. He was over in Iraq 3 different times. He was given the Purple Heart. He was a Purple Heart recipient 3 times. He lost both legs. He's a double amputee. Just a great kid. With him, he talks about, hey, I only gave my legs. There's other people who've given their lives. I just gave my legs. That's nothing. There's other people who've given my lives. And he's just a really upbeat kid. Really down to earth. And for him, today we went up to Tehachapi and collected some money from Tehachapi for the Wall of Valor and their coin drive. And there's probably couple 100 pounds worth of coins there, and Wesley with both of his metal legs, he's trying to carry these boxes, just driven. I'm saying, hey Wesley, hey, I understand you don't want to give up, but hey, you gotta go ahead and put that box down because you're gonna hurt yourself. But he's really he's not gonna take no for an answer. He's not going to sit back and say, oh, well, I've lost both my legs, so I'm going to sit back. He's out there doing his thing. He's out there working out. He's running. He's talking to the kids. He's trying to raise awareness. I took him out to the Formosa Drags a couple months back, and I got him a golf cart, and he said, what's that for? And I said, well, this is for you, so you can drive around. So I don't need that. So I wind up driving the golf cart, and he would walk next to me, So just a really really great guy. He loves his country. He loves his army. Just a great all-around kid. And he's got a great message for the kids as well. And just we kind of on the same wavelength. We're trying to stay in the schools, even after the memorial, the Wall of Valor is done this Saturday. We still want to stay in the schools and educate the kids about what our veterans are and put things in perspective for them.
We really want to have you two back if we can.
Absolutely. You know what? I would love to bring him back. He'd love to be brought back here too. He just got nominated for Veteran of the year. So we're actually getting ready to go up to Sacramento, and they're going to award him for that, and just a lot of great things. And I'd love for him to come back here and be able to tell a little bit of his story as well.
You know, his attitude that you described seems to be an attitude that a lot of the disabled vets have. That they were proud to have served their country, and they've given their limb, and in many cases, as you know, their life.
Absolutely, you know what, and it's a great honor for me. We call the Purple Hearts, just enemy combatant marksmanship badges. But at the same time, I know in his heart he's proud to have that medal upon his chest, and he was proud to have done what he did for his country, because of the fact that he did it unselfishly. He joined up knowing what he was looking for or looking at and what might happen. But to have that kind of courage to go out and do these things and still be mentally sharp and to be motivated to go out and try to make a difference is just amazing to me.
We're having a conversation with Jeremy Staat. Did I pronounce it right?
Beautiful.
And it's Dutch. I better get it right, otherwise my mom will get mad at me.
Well, I wanted to share with you the one award that I got. It was the Purple Shaft with barbed wire clusters.
It's funny. I can remember the one award I got. I was number 2 in our company, which is 350 guys?
About, yeah.
In the physical fitness test.
Really?
And I lost to some guy from a town I had never heard of before. I'm an LA kid. A town called Taft. I'd never heard of Taft before.
Really? Well, what's amazing about Bakersfield here is we're actually one of the few counties in the nation who have achieved every single award that our country gives, all the way up to the Medal of Honor.
Wow.
So you go up to the Medal of Honor and work your way down. Bakersfield is actually one of the only counties in the nation who have achieved...
Only cities.
Well, counties,
Kern
County, that has achieved that kind of honor in the nation. That's big. Bakersfield, no matter where you go, somebody's heard of Bakersfield or knows somebody from Bakersfield or has driven through Bakersfield. Bakersfield is just one of those towns that I don't know what it is, but it's just something about this town that either someone has been through here, knows somebody that lives here, or has lived here.
Johnny Carson and Jay Leno both talk about Bakersfield all the time.
Well, Johnny Carson did. He doesn't talk about
Jay Leno
anymore.
Made a negative comment the other day, which was unfortunate.
Well, if we're even if we're the tail end of their joke or whatever, we're still being talked about.
I wanted to ask you. You had an opportunity to live anywhere in this country because of what you've done and who you are. What brought you back to Bakersfield? Well,
people ask me that question all the time. I've lived in Scottsdale, Arizona. I've lived in Waikiki, Hawaii. I've lived all over the world, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. But what brought me back here is that Bakersfield is a great community. It's my home. It's where I was born and raised, and it's where I want to come back and make a difference. And I remember my mom was a big time singer in the church and stuff like that. And I remember she went back to Nashville, Tennessee, and I remember they told the kid, "Hey, if you're not a star in your own hometown, don't even think about coming here." And so it's like, well, I want to come home and make a difference in my hometown before I can go out and make, other places good. It's kind of like, getting your house organized before you try to fix your neighbor's problems. It's kind of one of those things. I want to make sure that everything here is going really well before I try to expand. And Bakersfield's a great place. There's some of the big names have come out of Bakersfield and continue to come out of Bakersfield. But my biggest thing is, if there was a political career later down the road for me, I want to make sure that I do everything right here in my hometown first, because this is where I was born and raised. And you know what? I'm not ashamed of being here for Bakersfield.
Did you say if there's a political career down the road?
I say if, just because, I'm sure I'm being pushed that way. My biggest thing is just making sure that with every breath I have, I can make a difference. And you know what? As a servant, and most politicians are, as servants, I'm not going to do it for money, because I'm not motivated for money. So you know what? Yeah, they can keep my money. I just want to make a difference.
Yeah, definitely. We're getting close to running out of time. We want you to come back with Wesley. That would be great.
Absolutely. Whenever you guys are ready. And this Saturday or today would be, it's a great on this Memorial Day weekend to have people come down and check out the Wall of Valor. It's going to be a great time. There's over 1,009 names going upon that wall, and we just want to make sure that Kern County knows where it's at and they're able to visit it anytime they can.
Great. Thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate it.
Stay with us, Jeremy. Marty had something he wanted to say.
Yeah, something I just wanted to share. Memorial Day, as most of you know, actually started after the Civil War, and my favorite person in American history is Joshua Chamberlain. Won the Medal of Honor for Little Round Top. He was a real citizen soldier. He was a divinity student, was left on the battlefield 3 times for dead, and just before he died in 1914, he wrote a book entitled The Passing of the Army. And basically what he did was he was talking about the Army in review, the Army of the Potomac, and how it disbanded, and looking back 40 years at his war and at that time of our history. And he said something that I thought really applied today in the last page of his book. We had lately seen the bodily form of our army, or what remained of it, pass in majesty before the eyes of men, while part of it was still left planted on the slopes of the Antietam, on the heights of Gettysburg, in the wilderness, on the far-spread fields and lonely roadsides of all Virginia, waiting the resurrection. The splendor of devotion, glowing like a bright spirit over those dark waters and misty plains, assures us of something that cannot die. The sacrifice of the mothers who sent such sons was of the immortal. All this must have been felt by those who gave the order. The War Department and the President may cease to give the Army orders, may disperse its visible elements, but cannot extinguish them. They will come together under higher bidding and will know their place and name. This army will live and live on so long as soul shall answer soul, so long as that flag watches with its stars over fields of mighty memory, so long as in its red lines the regenerated people reads the charter of its birthright, and in its field of white, God's covenant with man. Thank you, and we'll talk to you next week on Taking Care of Business.